Jennifer here from Belladonna's Botanicals, and today I want to talk about this is sort of my summary a little bit of the past 5 years of working with the demonic divine as a demonolator, and how that has helped me heal through a lot of my PTSD, trauma, and also addressing like what's next. Like that's been on my mind lately. And what I want to talk about, what I want to say as a disclaimer, caveat before I go into this, yes, I do all the traditional Western medicine stuff as far as it goes for my overall health and well-being and my mental health care. So I take the meds, I go to the doctor, I have a psychiatrist, a therapist, and I have had these things for probably about the past 15 years straight. So I've been doing this work for 15 years now. The last 5 I just have been doing, and some of it was coming back to my spirituality, healing through religious trauma, through my explorations in the occult, and working with the demonic divine. So without further ado, let's get into it. Anywho, so just finishing up work here. I'm back. Just finishing up work here today. So thought I'd make some videos because been a little slack on that this month, but that's also because I managed to stab myself in the foot earlier, and here we are. So that just got me a little behind on things. Anyways, yeah, so I started working, and if you go back in the playlists of either channeled messages, my demonolatry playlist, you can see the progression of how I've worked with these different spirits over time, and how I have, and how I've changed and evolved in those 5 years as well. Like I look back at old videos and I'm just like, ugh, sometimes with either I just looked unwell or I knew I was unwell. And I thought about making this video too, because, let's see, it is a time of recording. This is May 21st, 2025. And in a couple weeks, I turn the big 50. Yes, I am turning 50. So, if you think working with the demonic, poisons your soul and makes you ugly and evil, hi, here to prove you wrong on that again. Anywho's, so usually, especially, I kind of celebrate my demoniversary, I guess, around Walpurgisnacht, because that was in 2020 when I did my first dedications to working with Lilith and Lucifer. All right, well, anyways, internet's been a little wonky, so apologies. Yeah, so I usually do my I do a rededication ceremony ritual every year to Lucifer and Lilith, because that's my patron and matron spirits. So I gotta say, having come out the other side of this, it's weird. Like, I'm still dark and twisty, don't get me wrong, but like having healed through the level of PTSD and trauma that I did, yeah, that's a lot. And I'm not saying do this solely. It takes an integrated approach, and honestly, I'll be the first one to tell you, like, the people who I really am not a fan of the people that like magic first is the solution to everything. Magic is ancillary. Spirituality, that kind of comes in tandem. I was never going to heal this stuff just by working with the spiritual world. It comes in tandem of having done 15 years of therapy, of having various, treatments, whether I was doing the ketamine treatments, whether I was microdosing, whether, I'm doing, I did transcranial magnetic stimulation in 2020. I've done all the things in order to get my health and well-being back on. Magic alone is not going to solve your problems. And if anyone is telling you that, run, because that's very cult-like behavior, and I like to warn against that here. Because part of ego and healing is that I keep myself in check. And I apologies here, I just want to interject. This video is probably going to be a little all over the place. I am speaking very extemporaneously from my experiences of working with these different spirits and my own healing journey. So when it comes to having a healed ego and stuff like that. I'm not looking to prey on other people. I'm not here to be your cult leader, your guru, your whatever. Like I make a lot of decisions here. I've struggled with, monetizing my content over the years, and I kind of am not really into it because I'd rather give you information, because in 2025, the amount of misinformation and disinformation, utter bullshits out there, along with the AI stuff, having a voice of someone that's being like, yeah, that's some bullshit. We need more of that. And I am always keeping myself in check that I am not falling into the ego trap of being your bullshit guru, of being a low budget cult leader or whatever. Because I see that in all aspects of the occult. It's not just the left-hand path. It's not just the woo-woo, love and light folks. It is stem to stern, the whole damn thing. So finding good authors, good content creators, good information is crucial. And that's something I have learned the hard way over the past 5 years. I have fallen on my face more times than I can remember. As Lucifer once said to me, you've been bitten in the ass so many times by, well, maybe it'll be different this time. That he proceeded that with, and I'm surprised you even have any ass left at this point. So anyways, these are all things that I have learned, and I do therapy regularly, maybe like once a month or so, but still I am doing it. Like, I'm always going to do therapy and take care of my mental health, because while I may have healed through the big T trauma bits and, some of the PTSD stuff, it's not to say that tomorrow, there's not going to be more stuff added into that pile, because holy shit, the world we're in right now. Yeah. Anyways, so what have I learned? Well, the first one, I actually just made a note of this a while ago, was no contact as part of healing. And I've had to do that a lot. And it's never easy. I don't really tend to make a big stink out of it. If I've disappeared out of your life, there's probably a reason for it, unless my ADHD made me forget something. But yeah, like I'm still processing how that I pushed through the last bits of that healing. I'm still processing, integrating, because what I realized one of the biggest issues there was a disconnection between, sort of, and it sounds so hokey to say, but there was a real big disconnection between the mind, body, and spirit. Like, all of these things were functioning entities. They just weren't connected in a holistic way. So that's something I'm still working on. But no contact, that has saved my life so many times. I've gone no contact with colleagues. I've gone no contact with clients on occasion. I've gone no contact with exes. I am at the point where I'm like, you know what, me. Like, I have to focus on my health and well-being. And if anyone else's bullshit, like, is encroaching upon that, I'm sorry, no, I have to leave the room. Bye. It's knowing your worth, and also going no contact is harm reduction. Do I regret one fucking iota of leaving the Become a Living God crowd fold? No, not even a little. And if you're still in there, have fun with that. And I've talked about that before. Like, I've severed ties with a lot of different things, because one of the things my therapist kept challenging me on is, you need to find your people. And why are you in these places that are making you miserable and stuff like that, or like a constant source of agitation and stress and just animosity and things like that. Like, I was in a Facebook group for whatever, the former sage goddess, that went away, and there's a new thing, but like, she's, whatever her name, Athena, she's not bad, but like, holy crap, the stuff from her followers, and like, watching grown-ass women grovel over people is a little like, ugh, like a little cringe. Now, I will say one thing in my defense, because I have been accused of this before, is here's one of the things I realized, being on the spectrum, autistic and whatnot. There are things that for all y'all might matter, but to me, like, things like hierarchy don't matter. It is the content of the person. So if I'm nice to someone solely because, for whatever reason, you might think I'm just friends with I'm simping for them, or I'm like whatever because they're an author or a cult creator. Sure, that's great. I've been around creatives my whole entire life. Like, that's kind of what I gravitate to. Like, I don't really hold them above and beyond measure with other people. A lot of them are colleagues for me. Hi, I run an occult related business. I know people. What happens? We know each other. We talk or we don't. There's people I'm still really good friends with. From that fold, but as I've gotten further and further away from it, it's not that I work with the demonic any less. I work more on the demonolatry side of things than say like what, like say Become a Living God was offering in terms of black magic and Satanism and Luciferianism and the left hand path. So yeah, getting away from that was harm reduction, because I realized at the end the problem was I was being constantly re-traumatized all the freaking time, and the best thing for me to do for my mental health was to get the fuck out of that situation. And I did, and then weird, my life started going so much better. And I started, I that's the point at which I blasted through. That was probably about a little over 2 years ago. So in that 2 years, the amount of healing I have done has been so rapid paced. It's exhausting sometimes. Like, I sit here and think I don't even have time between managing the business, now having a retail brick and mortar shop, to do a lot of rituals. But the thing is, I don't really kind of need to, unless like I am working on something. A lot of my spirit work at this point is just me communing with spirit. It's me meditating. It's me contemplating the big, the great, questions in life and all those things. It's been me focusing on me and healing and figuring out what the literal fuck sometimes, and why do I do what I do. And to see how all those things connect, to fill in. I have a lot of PTSD related memory loss. A lot of those memories are now coming back that I'm kind of healing connections. It's like they're there. I can feel them as a memory in my body, in my soul sometimes, but I don't have the memory of the stuff. So that's really important. And I just want to say this here: going no contact with anything, whether it's a group, whether it's family, whether it's friends, is hard. You're not making excuses. You're not being selfish. You are focusing on you and you're healing. And sometimes you have to do that away from other people, or away from the people who are triggering, the cycles to perpetuate. It's not to say that even though I went no contact with someone, that I might not, say after I get through that, re-engage somehow. But, more often than not, especially in this day and age, just move on. And, it is what it is, as my therapist likes to say. So but this is all about protection. And these are things I've learned through working with my spiritual arsenal. And in the past 5 years, that's been Lucifer, that's been Lilith, that's been Abaddon, that's been Belial, Azazel, that's been Sorath in the past year, that's been various goetic demons, that's been so many different dark goddesses: Astarte, Hecate, the Morgan, Santa Muerte. Holy crap, Santa Muerte really saved my freaking ass there back in 2022, because I was literally knocking on death's door like, let me in. I am tired of this mortal coil. Let me in. Yep. Well, thank you, Santa Muerte. I'm enjoying being alive, because I had plans not to be by my 50th birthday, if you know what I'm saying. That's how bad things were in 2022. Because that depression, holy crap, that was bad. that was bad. That depression was if shit doesn't change by the time my 50th birthday rolls around, that's it. I'm done. Done. So being able to be like, yeah, I'm enjoying being alive. And even though the world's on fire and crumbling around us, most of the time, I'm doing my own thing. I'm finding joy because you know what? Joy is resilience. Joy is resistance. As long as you have joy, you'll have something that your enemies will never have. Yes, that is true. Um, so yeah, I've been working with, and the thing that as a demonologer, and I see this, and what I try to do in the videos that I make, I'm not like, oh, Belial, he's the lawless one, and smite your enemies, and blah 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 blah, like all this evil demon, kind of stuff. Sorry for the theatrics. But I try to dispel a lot of that. Yes, a lot of that kind of negative bullshit around the demonic. Guess where that comes from? Yes, and if you guessed the early Christian church and general Christianity, congratulations, you are correct. So that's where a lot of this comes from. It comes from people. Wait, what's that word? Demonizing that which they do not understand, different types of spirits, because that's the thing. And I talk about this all the time. You have spirits that there's a lot of dualities within them, whether you're talking about a goddess of love and war. Those two things, like, it's not like, oh, she's just a goddess of love, let's only focus on that. Duality. All things can be good or bad, depending on the context and what you're doing with it. Like I like to say, especially people talk about, poisonous herbs and things like that. You can die from drinking too much water or not having enough water. The key is balance. So I like to always hammer that one home because that has been one of probably the most important lessons I've learned in the past 5 years. So being able to heal through these things, and I am still trying to make heads or tails of it. Like, there was stuff that, like, I didn't realize what I thought was my big T trauma was part of it, but there was a different thing in there that I was like, I had to. It's not even that it took me long enough to heal through it. It's sometimes acknowledging it, being like, oh, that's the thing, that's it. That's all sometimes you need to do for everything to kind of fall into place and integrate. So, I mean, I've taken leaps and bounds to make my life better since then in 2020. I have fought, and I have at times struggled. I still struggle, here and there, because, hey, I'm a human on the planet Earth, and that's a thing we do, apparently. So, but I'm happy now. I got out of the city like almost 2 years ago at this point. I live in a quiet place, despite, the economy and inflation and tariff bullshit and all of that. Doing okay business wise. I mean, everything's kind of been in a holding pattern, for the past few years, which, I mean, all things considered, pretty decent. To the point that my financial advisor, was like, you run a very successful business. I still have to get my finances in better order because I suck at that sometimes, but baby steps. It's like all these things come. Like, once I started in this process of healing, and when I started working with Sorath, I've been working with Sorath for the past almost 6 months now. I still have not done a bit of work on, when it comes to wealth and prosperity and power and fame and fortune and all that. I haven't done any workings with Sorath on it. It has been blasting through the last 6 months of all the healing crap I have had to do. And this is what I'd like to, I do apologize if I'm a little all over the place, but if you've watched my channel for any length of time, you know that. Because, hi, ADHD. Yeah, so I think it's a matter of, I learned, you know what the most important thing I've learned from working with the demonic divine, especially Lucifer? Love myself first and foremost. Don't lose myself on other people, whether that's relationships, friendships, work relationships, things like that. Not to lose myself, not to lose my sense of self. So what have I learned? I've learned self-love, balance, and kindness. And I mean, don't get me wrong. I've still got the Philly girl in me, so I'm definitely an FAFO kind of person. But for the most part, I'm good. I'm good. And somewhere I know that's going to make some of my enemies really butthurt that I'm doing well. But here's the thing, and what I've realized, and I can speak of this of the world today, is that if you don't, yeah, if you have no joy in your life and are just focused on hate and all of that, yeah, like you're gonna not be a great person at the end of the day. And believe me, I've been there, and I can tell you, hate is a hell of a drug. Holy crap! That high, oh, that rage high, holy, oh. And I've done a fair amount of illegal substances in my life, if you know what I mean. So, yeah, it's like that. It's addictive too. Rage and hate and all of this is addictive. And I one of the things I did just was I really got away from social media. I was using Threads a lot, and I don't know, Threads is, I don't know. The less I have to deal with people, the better sometimes. Or reframing this, it's about finding my people. Not that I want to live in an echo chamber, because boy, howdy, do I love to argue a good point at some point in time. But it's a matter of, do you think my life is worthy of living? Because I didn't get that feeling from a lot of people on the left-hand path and whatnot. And I don't really want to, diverge into the political at this moment. I may get there eventually, but I just don't feel like talking about it. I don't enjoy talking about politics. And you know what? I don't know. I'll say this much of what's going on in America. It's really just a fear tactic. Once you figure that out and stop being afraid of everything, it's fine. I minimize it, but like my mental health state, everything's so back and forth at this point that it's like, until it sticks, then I'll worry. But right now, not really. I know what my hard limits are. I know what my, you're not taking me alive kind of moments will be. Hope I don't have to get there. And we'll do everything in my power to not, but I know what my hard limits are and things, and what I will fight and die for. I don't want that to be a reality, but it's, I've contemplated it. And honestly, what got me through the last, one of the biggest hurdles in my healing was really sitting with looking at the things that are going on in America. Look, I am disabled. I'm a lot more disabled than I sometimes like to think that I am, or want to acknowledge that I am, because I'm realizing this with being at the retail shop. I'm like, wow, okay, my hard limit on walking is about 4 blocks. 4. I used to walk miles at a clip. So this is a little bit of an adjustment for me to be like, wow, I walked 4 blocks. Why is my whole body falling apart? Because yeah, that is something I'm having to deal with right now, is my current state of, yeah, my body is kind of in a hot mess. Like I've been working very hard to be on the right medications, the right treatments, all that stuff. Hopefully I still have insurance, because that's always, I'm not on Medicaid, but I'm on the Affordable Care Act. So, okay, well, I said I wasn't going to get political, but I'm talking about this in context of me being a disabled person. Got my little placard for my car and all that. But it is hard. Like I had to cancel an event because I was so behind from having stabbed myself in the foot. I left one of the, because everyone's like, well, how did you do that, Jen? Magic. I left, those heavy duty kitchen scissors that come with like knife blocks. Yeah, that was on the counter on top of a towel, and I went to go move it, and it went straight into my foot. The worst part of it was I didn't really realize it. I felt something hit my foot. Just when I went to go pick it up, I was like, well, that's a lot of blood. I guess we're going to urgent care. And then I got some stitches and stuff. So, but it was just the whole process left me so far behind. And that, and by the time I caught up, I was just like, the event is in less than 24 hours. I have no time to prepare for this, and I was already in a pain flare to begin with. So these are things I have to think about. And being a disabled person and seeing how the US government is coming after Medicaid and disability and things like that. And I don't know what people think. Like the reason I'm not on disability is because it would disable me even more to be so. I mean, sure, my medical care would be taken care of. I just would have to not ever, I'd be like, well, I can't ever get married again. I can't own anything, which would mean like, I couldn't have any. I would have to put everything in other people's names and like my family or whatever. Can't have more than $2,000 in assets to your name or whatever. There's only so much money you can make if you're on disability before they kick you off disability. So, I mean, anyone who thinks people unless you sued someone and got like a multi-million-dollar lawsuit from it, chances are you're like, most people on disability are living in abject poverty at this point. Like there are wait lists for public house, accessible public housing that are years long. So I don't know if people think that like they're living in the lap of luxury, but yeah, I mean, keep on simping for billionaires. I see how it goes. Anywho, because they definitely need tax breaks. Poor billionaires don't have enough $1 billion, don't have enough money and resources. They got to get rid of all of us little, parasites and stuff. But I digress. My healing has not made me any less sassy. That is terminal, unfortunately. I kid. But yeah, it's what I've been thinking about here as I've gotten through the tail end of healing through my PTSD. I'm not going into a lot of details of it because it's very private. It's the type of stuff I would discuss with a medical professional, not my YouTube channel. But I keep thinking like, what's next? Like I kind of got to that point of, well, I've healed through the things I've been working with these spirits on healing. Now what? And that's an interesting place to be. Like, what are my goals here? What do I want to get done working with the spirits I do? What do I want to accomplish in life? And how do I want to keep working with these entities? Because I do this shit every day. I go to bed, thinking about this stuff. I communicate, I meditate, I commune with my spirit world and my spirit arsenal and all of that. So thinking about, okay, well, because I find I'm doing less and less rituals and spells. It's not like, oh, I'm losing interest. Yeah, sometimes I'm too busy, but it's sometimes like, what do I want to work with this spirit for? Because I was doing, I'm going to get back to it at some point, the Goetia Pathworking series. I think I'm up to Barbados. And I'm like, sometimes I'm like, I have no idea what I even want to work with this spirit on about right now. Like, I feel like I keep asking the same things. Like, one of the things I'm working on personally is just getting my finances in a better place. But outside of that, and like, oh crap, I need money for rent, or oh, this yearly expense is coming up, I find like I don't really know. I'm not doing as much because there's just not as much too. So I guess at this point, thinking about, it's not always about doing magic, but it's about being living magic. It's you are the magic. Now I just get to do magic when I feel like it, not because I have to. In the demonology terms, I tend to keep up with the demonology, the yearly demonology rites, which usually fall around like the Sabbats and stuff like that. So I think I missed a couple in May because I stabbed myself in the foot. I wonder if that's why Belial is trying to get my attention. Did I miss a rite of Belial somewhere? I think I missed a Belphegor and Leviathan one. Yeah, so I just wanted to kind of make this video because I've been doing, for the past few years, I've been doing my year 5 of working with Lilith or Lucifer. But yeah, I've worked with so many spirits. I've had great experiences with them. Like I was just watching some videos of Belial because I don't know, Belial's trying to get my attention. So trying to figure out why. maybe work for later. Because sometimes spirits will get your attention. Um, but anyways, so yeah, it's totally forgot what I was gonna say. Oh, it was back to and we're back. And back to Belial. Like a lot of people like, oh, Belial's so tough on you, so hard to work with and stuff. I'm like, build your own relationships with these entities, and I would say that across the board. Like I give you my experiences so you have a frame of reference for things like, oh, okay, this person has had this similar experiences and stuff like that with Belial or whomever. So you can compare and contrast, because sometimes I was just watching some videos on Belial, and there was a couple I was just like, ugh, this again. Belial, the lawless one. He's so tough to work with. You really have to be careful with working with Belial. Well, if you're a dumbass, maybe, but whatever. So just to kind of wrap up, since I've been rambling for half an hour, is getting through this process. I see the world so differently now. Even in things that I used to do, I'm like, ugh, really? I mean, I have my opinions of things. Take what you like, leave the rest. I don't care. I'm not going to lose sleep whether you don't like something I said or whether you're like, it is what it is. And, what am I working on now? A lot of what I'm working on is ancestral healing. As I've mentioned in other videos, I am Ukrainian. And, broadly Eastern European from that sort of Transcarpathian region, Germanic, a little bit of Irish and English on my mom's side. Although I don't really know much about Irish and British culture, English culture outside of having visited England. That's about all I know. Because I was raised more on the Ukrainian / Eastern European side. So that's sort of more where my cultural identity lies. All I see though, and what I have seen a lot of in working with spirits, and we are more connected than disconnected. And so much of the narratives out there are so toxic and so myopic. Like, I get people want to be respectful, but there gets to be a point where you're teetering on some really not so great aspects of things. And I will get into that another time, because I'll be here another hour on that. Knowing when to question yourself, understanding that pretty much everything is a spectrum. Like I was saying early in here, like I recognize hierarchy is a thing to other people, but for me, like it is, I don't care. Like I know it exists, but I'm not treating people any different because this person has money and this one doesn't, or this one's a CEO and this one's, a mailroom worker. I don't care. I don't care if you were born into money or not. It's some of that stuff to me just has, I'm like, all right, well, I realize this is a thing for other people, but doesn't matter to me. And that's for a lot of things how I like I'm missing areas where there's certain like emotional ranges I don't experience. Like I don't really experience jealousy or envy, maybe a little bit more. But most of the time, if I say something like, oh, I'm totally jelly, you got to go to blah, blah, blah. I'm like, I'm being folksy and something. I'm not actually jealous that you're going to Japan. It's nice. I'm happy for you, but would I like to go to Japan someday? Sure, maybe. Also, what becomes a problem with traveling when you're disabled? It gets a lot more expensive because I just realized I'm going to have to fly first class anytime I fly anymore because my body would not be able to handle being cramped up in coach for however many hours. Maybe a short flight if it's like an hour or two, but anything beyond that, yeah, I'm gonna have to fly first class. The discernment skills, like being able to be like, okay, what's a legitimate spiritual experience? What's spiritual bypassing? What is just, the toxic positivity of, and there's a lot of harmful narratives that are so ableist and so gross that permeate a lot of spirituality and occultism from, the woo-woo all the way up to, the left-hand path and beyond, that there's just a lot of toxic narratives like the, oh, well, it was your soul contract to get divorced, or it was your soul contract to that you would never have children, or whatever, or you got cancer because your daddy didn't love you. Oh my god, that stuff is so gross. Ew. But one of the ones, the biggest one, this that I see this in stem to stern in the spiritual communities, is the obsession of conspiracy theories as a lifestyle and like all you do. I don't get it. Like, I entertain things like, sure, yeah, sure, there's conspiracies that are true, came true, whatever. Am I going to make that my whole lifestyle, or that's all I do and obsess about and talk about? Not really. Um, just understanding, that energy. I mean, yeah, we kind of get in those nuances of the dark and the darkness and the light. It's balance, it's integration. You can't exist in all light. You can't exist in all darkness because, sorry, it takes both. Light is meaningless without darkness, and darkness is meaningless without light. It's really not that hard. It's really quite simple. And like I've mentioned, everything exists on a spectrum. I mean, especially if you're talking about, the divine masculine, divine feminine, it's a sliding scale. Like it's a little, of everything. It's not just you're this or this and whatnot. Although I'm sure some people would like to believe that and have their little precious egos stroked. Things exist on a binary. I don't particularly agree with it because there's a lot of things about me while I'm femme presenting. I'm not really all that girly when it comes down to it. I get along with men better than women most of the time. And like, I do have women friends, don't get me wrong. And they're all women who don't get along with other women too. So yay, we get along. It's advancing through, the nuance, as I mentioned, discernment, thinking critically, and just understanding that you can't force an awakening. The universe will guide you through that process. But, again, you got to do all the things. It's a holistic approach. And I hate to use that term because it is kind of cliche, but it is. It's taking care of myself on okay, did I eat today? Did I take my vitamins? Did I take my meds? Did I go to the doctor? All that stuff. And then the spirituality is kind of, nuanced in and of itself around that. And sometimes I think about what I would tell myself, my past selves at different parts, because I was a very pragmatic atheist for a very long time. At this point, I can't imagine my life without spirituality in it, without working with the spirits I do, without this being a process, without I don't need a temple or a church or whatever. Kind of like my whole abode is that, the universe is my temple, nature is my temple, all of that stuff. I don't need someone else. I'm a solitary person. I have other friends that I do stuff with sometimes,